Now I know what you're probably thinking. You saw the thumbnail for this video. Those of you who are subscribed, you maybe got a notification and you're like, who the flip is this guy? And that's totally understandable because I don't think I've uploaded a video in a very long time. You know what, let me check. I'm gonna find out exactly when the last time I uploaded was. Oh, 1 week ago. Frick. I'll link that up in the corner if you want to check it out. My last time uploading before that video last week was 3 months ago, which I'm not stoked about. Now, just because I haven't been uploading to YouTube doesn't mean that I've totally stopped making videos altogether. That is like 100% not true. It actually, it couldn't be more opposite. I could go so into depth with it, but as you probably have noticed from my past videos, this is a different scene, different setup. It's actually, I'm in a whole different location. I got a job downtown Minneapolis as a full-time videographer with a company called Love Your Melon. It has been the most amazing, how long has it been now? Like almost 7 months ever. I've learned so much. I've met so many crazy talented people, and I've had some amazing opportunities that I never would have come across, you know, doing my own stuff. But long story short, I'm so pumped to be living here in Minneapolis, working and filming, and it's amazing. Okay, I'm talking way too much. The point of me making this video today is I want to maybe be able to shed some light through my own personal experience on how you can hear the voice of God. Now I know some of you are like, what? Voice of God, what do you, Control Alt, I don't even know how you close it. Is that how you close a window? Control. I'm gonna break it down so that you can actually have some tangible things that you can do to actually work towards really being able to hear clearly the voice of God. We are hardwired to hear the Father. We are hardwired in our hearts and in our spirits to be in eternal connection with the Father. So if that is our foundation, we have to assume that we, even in this day and age, have the ability to hear Jesus' voice. So let me back up a little bit. I grew up in a church that was not very charismatic. I never really knew that God spoke in this generation. I knew that God showed up in signs, miracles, and wonders back in the days of the Bible, but there was no part of me that thought that that was still for today, that stuff still happened today. I dropped out of college after 1 semester. I was just not motivated. I had no idea what my major was going to be. Basically, the last thing I wanted to do was school for another 4 years. So freshman year, first semester, dropped out. My grades just were not hot. Ended up working in a little factory on the conveyor belts loading, it's a packaging company, so I'd put, some days it'd be packages of yogurt, almonds, Lunchables, barbecue sauce, just a whole variety of stuff, and my only job was to pick stuff up and put it on the conveyor belt for, what, 10, 11 hours a day? I thought that was gonna be the rest of my life. So after about 3.5 to 4 months of working on those conveyor belts, my parents brought up the idea, hey Levi, maybe you should go to a Bible school. I had nothing else really going for me at the time. I was still living at home. I was probably 19, I was 19 at the time, and I really just wanted to get out of my parents' house and whatever it took. But I ended up finding this organization called YWAM, which stands for Youth with a Mission. They have bases all around the world, but we knew some family friends of ours that went out to a base in Kona, Hawaii. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, you want to send me to Hawaii for Bible school? Signed up. Cruised out to Hawaii, didn't know anybody, I didn't even know what island I was showing up to. Showed up to the big island, and from that point on, my whole relationship with the Lord just got flipped upside down in a very good way. But let me tell you, the first 2 weeks of being there at YWAM, getting taught to every day about different things about God, I got very frustrated. Most of my frustration was rooted out of insecurity. I'd see, these friends that I just made, they're already some of my best friends ever, and they're next to me just like crying and weeping because the Lord is like encountering them in such a real way. And I was just like sitting there like, just give me something, like anything. I don't care how stupid and small it is. I just need to know that you're real, you know? I got so frustrated that I went up to the top of campus and just found this, it was like a dump up there. I found this old plastic chair, I sat it down, I grabbed my Bible, I put it on the ground, and I just started screaming at the top of my lungs. I didn't care if anybody heard me, I wasn't embarrassed, I was just like, if this is real, I want it. And if it's not, fine, I'm just some idiot standing up in the freaking forest screaming at the sky. Like, it doesn't matter. I just need to know if this is real. So I screamed and I like opened up my Bible and I'm like, are you real? And I started like reading Psalms and stuff. Everything that I like thought to do, I did. And guess what happened? Nothing. In retrospect, that was like a shifting point for me. I needed to be in that place of pure desperation for God in order for him to show up. That's not the case with everybody, but for me, if God would have just encountered me like everybody else, it probably wouldn't have impacted me in the way that it has today. I needed to be completely at a place of complete desperation in my life, and that is when God showed up. So let me go back to kind of like the key points now. You need to understand and have like faith and assurance that God's people hear and recognize the sound of his voice. It may be muffled at first, but you need to fine tune your ear and your spirit to like hear his voice and recognize it. It's not something that, for some people it is. It's not something that just like, oh, that's it, like, oh. You need to always be training your spirit and your mind to recognize and hear his voice. So number one, this is like the biggest thing for me. It helped me so much, and that's journaling. And that's what I did. I would be super raw. You have to understand that God is not afraid of your hard questions. It's not like God's sitting up there like, oh shoot, I really hope he doesn't ask this question because I have no idea what I'm gonna say. No, God embraces your questions. That is how your faith is built, is by asking those hard questions, because that is how you make your faith your own. And then there will be points while you're writing, I promise you, that when you're writing, you're like, I'm really struggling with this, and then into your head pops like this almost response to the question that you just asked. And then when that happens, you just like skip a line and you go down and you write that response that popped into your head. Even if you think it is your own voice that just like inserted that into like the void of your question, I promise you that 99.9% of the time, that is God speaking. So this kind of brings me into the second point, is God speaks in so many different ways. You can't even put him in a box of like, okay, he speaks in this way, and this way. Any other way? That is from Satan, my dude. That is not from God. No, God speaks in a multitude of ways. But some of the most common ways that he speaks is in a still small voice. If it is exhorting, if it is uplifting, if it encourages you, 99% of the time, it's gonna be God. This isn't like a theological like truth. It is something that has totally helped me in my walk with the Lord and learning to hear his voice. If you always doubt that voice that's popping into your head, I don't know how you're gonna grow. So picture this, you're a father and your child is learning to walk, okay? So they're crawling right now, and then they make an effort, they finally stand up, they take one step forward towards you, and then they fall flat on their face. The father's gonna be so flipping proud that his child stood up and took a step. Doesn't matter if it's one step and he falls on his face, it doesn't matter. He's trying, he's getting up, eventually he's gonna take 2 steps, 3 steps, falls flat on his face. Father is so happy because his kid is learning to walk and his kid is learning to hear his voice. Okay, so my third and final point is that the Lord is gonna speak to you in ways that you understand. Now, if you don't really know this about me, action sports was like so deep in my passions. Like that is pretty much all I cared about up until like 3 years ago was like freestyle skiing, wakeboarding. That's it, just freestyle skiing and wakeboarding. And I got a vision of me sitting in the water, there was tension in the handle, I had my wakeboard like between my legs, and I yelled to the boat, I was like, hit it! And then as soon as the boat started to go, I forced myself, I fought with the boat to like stand up, to like force myself up. If you've ever been wakeboarding before, you know that the way to get up is to let the boat do the heavy lifting, let the boat do the work. And all you have to do is keep that handle tight to your hip and then just stay strong, and then the boat will pull you up. And it's a lot less work. It is like, it's just the correct way. And immediately that vision in my head was interpreted. The Lord was saying that, Levi, you're trying to do everything on your own strength. You're trying to, as soon as like you get that tension in your line, you're like, okay, I got it. I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna do it by myself. That's not the way that I want this relationship to be. The Lord was saying, listen, you have to let me do the work. You have to let me do the heavy lifting. You're trying to do everything on your own strength, but you need to tap into me, who is your like infinite, eternal strength. He spoke to me in a way that I understood most, which was wakeboarding. So that's what you need to understand, is like God is going to speak to you through the ways that you know most. And I guarantee you, if you take those little steps of just asking the Lord to speak to you, and for him to quiet your own thoughts, to quiet your mind, to quiet your heart, and just invite him to speak, it's game over. The Lord's gonna be speaking to you left and right. You're not even gonna know what to do with it. You're gonna need a bigger journal. So that's it. I really encourage you to just take those 3 simple things and apply them into your life, and then let me know down in the comments after like a week, after a month, after 6 months, how it impacted you, if it impacted you, things that really worked for you, things that didn't. I really want to know. Those things really worked for me. And like I said, every day I'm still learning on how to hear the Lord's voice even clearer and better. But I really challenge you guys to give that a try and let me know how it goes. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm getting fired up to start creating again, so be on the lookout for future content next week, the week after that, the week after that. It's gonna be epic. Make sure, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button, maybe toss this video a little like if you're feeling generous. And on that note, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.